All right, the Oni dagger, the Oni article has finally dropped, ladies and gentlemen. The action, I think, will start again this week. It needs to start in regards to Fofana and Dumfries. But you know what? I want to stay calm this time because, yeah, we've been screwed around too many times.
All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about the latest Chelsea transfer news that's been going around in the past 24 hours or so. But the David Ornstein article literally dropped about a couple of hours ago, so it'll be very interesting to go through what is the latest on Wesley Fofana and Denzel Dumfries. Apparently, these are the two that Chelsea are really focusing on. But we want to look at all different perspectives of this particular news and not just get too excited like previously. Guilty, obviously, with the Jules Koundé situation and many other scenarios, the Rafinha thing as well. Hopefully, Barcelona is not coming for any of these, but there are other suitors apparently for Wesley Fofana, which we'll touch on. Let's jump straight into this, ladies and gentlemen. This is the breaking news from David Ornstein. Chelsea are working on deals for Wesley Fofana and Denzel Dumfries. Further goes on to say, Leicester value Fofana at 80 to 85 million, but Chelsea hope they could lower the price by offering players. On Dumfries, Tuchel wants backup to Reece James. Now, look, before we go into the other news, let's talk a little bit about Wesley Fofana. We've documented well over here that this particular deal is going to be very complicated. 5 years remaining on Wesley Fofana's contract. And Leicester is not going to give up this particular player so easily. Yeah, they're looking to sell players, to bring in players, but they're not in a situation where they're willing to just let go of this player for cheap price. Chelsea is going to have to fork out a lot of money. Don't forget he's had that injury as well, broke his leg last season. He's coming back from that. Is that the type of money that is worth paying for this particular individual? Now, he's a supremely talented defender. There is no doubt about that. In the right CB position, I think he's going to absolutely own it. He's young. Well, he's 21, 22. He's going to be turning 22, I think, December this season. So we can build a future with Wesley Fofana. The other factor is apparently there are suitors out there. Wesley Fofana is keen to make it in the World Cup for France, which is quite ambitious, and so should be. I don't think he's ever played for France. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, look, he's keen to do well this season and see if he can have an opportunity there. That's why there's teams like PSG apparently in the mix. Apparently, Man United's in the mix. Look, Man United, I don't think has good chance because obviously no Champions League. PSG and Chelsea has an appeal with the Champions League situation. So there could be something done here. I think in this particular player's case, the player actually, as much as I don't want to focus too much on this, but he's a fan of Chelsea Football Club. He's followed Chelsea Football Club. He was a kid that had Chelsea kits as a young kid growing up, and he's dreamt about playing for Chelsea. And also, I suppose Man City. He was saying if he wanted to move in the Premier League, it's either going to be Chelsea or Man City. So, from a player's perspective, I think a deal can be done. Personal terms shouldn't be an issue. It's just a matter of Leicester. Leicester's in conversation of selling Madison as well. So, are they willing to let go of all of these superstars? What does it mean for Leicester? Leicester's no Mickey Mouse club, even though they didn't do well last season. They're not someone, that want to be fighting in the relegation zone. Let's have a look at more news around this particular scenario. Fofana is super appreciated by Thomas Tuchel. With Fofana, the negotiation is difficult, but you can negotiate for Vardiol. But you can negotiate for Vardiol. It's not even the case. Vardiol is considered untouchable by Leipzig. And then Fabrizio Romano, in this case, goes on to say, keep an eye on Chelsea, really busy in the market. Really, Fabrizio? Obviously, we're going to be busy in the market. But yeah, going back to this scenario, the Vardiol thing, as I said previously as well, Leipzig really don't want to let him go. And that's why that situation with Leipzig is going to be very difficult. With Leicester, at least they could perhaps entertain the thought. Now, Chelsea will quickly make a first offer to Leicester for Wesley Fofana. They do not want to waste time on this position. If a price is put forward that is fair to Leicester management, they do not oppose to his departure. This is from Loic Tanzi, a French journalist. So obviously, Wesley Fofana being French, They have a lot of information around this particular player. Now, Chelsea's first offer amount is not disclosed. Luis Campos has Fofana's name discussed in case Skriniar fails for PSG. Fofana thinks he will have more chance of playing for France at the World Cup with the Champions League team. Chelsea's concrete offensive is likely to make him think. Look, PSG, I saw somewhere that they value him about 45 million or so pounds. They definitely don't value him about 80 to 85 million, which is what is touted by David Ornstein over here, as you can see. Look at this. Leicester value him at 80 to 85 million. Look, I just don't want to get into a scenario where we're in this battle with PSG. PSG want Skriniar, but if they fail to get Skriniar, they'll go for Wesley Fofana. I want to now look at the other side of the coin of this whole Leicester scenario. Ben Jacobs is known for his threads, and his threads are so detailed. We need to get on with this particular thread because it gives a lot of information. Told Leicester won't sell both Maddison and Fofana this summer and is not guaranteed either will leave. Fofana have been tracked by Chelsea and Manchester United for some time with a view to future windows, with Chelsea considering a push now due to urgent need for centre-backs, no doubt about that. Important to note, Leicester's stance is not for sale this window. Only a big offer well above market value will change that. Club for Fofana to sign a contract extension in March to basically avoid selling before next summer. PSG are also looking at Fofana as a backup to Skriniar, who is still also a Chelsea possibility. Reports in France suggest they value Fofana around 50 million euros, 42 million pounds, won't be anywhere near enough. 70 million plus all in is the minimum, and even then, that's the lowest end of Leicester's valuation, 70 million being the lowest. So you're not going to get it for 70 million. Fofana also won't force an exit. He is happy at Leicester. Contrary to some reports, he believes Rodgers can actually help him in contention for the World Cup. Player-manager relationship is very strong. Fofana has told Rodgers he's committed. Of course, lure of UCL and Chelsea is of some appeal to Fofana, no denying that, but he really isn't pushing for the exit now. That, plus Leicester's reluctance to sell, makes the summer transfer challenge not impossible, but will require Harry Maguire style of offer. Look, so much going on with this Wesley Fofana. It kind of makes sense. Why is he going to force a move right now? He just signed a contract extension. You know he's not going to try and unsettle his situation with Leicester at the moment. Brendan Rodgers is a top manager. I'm pretty sure he'll get the best out of him. Ben Jacobs is saying he's well committed as well. If he plays for Leicester on a regular basis, I don't see any reason why he won't be in contention for the French side. If he does well, that is, which I'm hoping he does. And this is why this makes it very complicated. And now that PSG are coming into the frame, PSG being a French club, Wesley Fofana from a French background, this is what I'm saying. As much as I love this player and I would love him to come to Chelsea Football Club, but I'm going to stay calm about this until I see something extremely advanced. And Chelsea will need to break the bank for this particular player. On top of that, apparently there could be some sort of a player swap. Now, Todd Bowley has learned very quickly, or I don't know whether he's learned or not, player swaps are not happening in Europe or in football in general. It's not in America where you get that in basketball or baseball or whatever the case is. There's talks that we may possibly send Levi Colwill to Leicester and then try and see if we can get a discount for Wesley Fofana. Now, Levi Colwill is also a very special talent, man. Youngster. I think he's a year younger, a couple of years younger than Wesley Fofana. But I mean, is that a risk worth taking? You're looking at somewhere north of 70 plus million for Wesley Fofana. You could possibly get a discount, but if you let go of Levi Colwill could potentially turn into a superstar as well. So look, there could be a situation here. There may not be, because there's talks about Malang Sarr leaving as well. So possibly we may not do a swap deal and keep Levi Colwill, which we'll touch on. But yeah, you let me know, guys, how you feel about it. As I said, the player's fantastic. I would love him at Chelsea Football Club as an RCB. I think he'll be great on the ball. Defensively, he'll be great as well. With the ball, he'll be great as well. He'll do exactly what Thomas Tuchel wants from him in that RCB role, advancing into that midfield area. and allowing the game to expand out a little bit. So, look, I understand the link and I'm all up for it. It's just, I think it's very complex, and I'm not going to go through this roller coaster ride where, getting excited and there's so many obstacles to get this particular player. We'll talk a little bit about Dumfries now. Dumfries' situation as well, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go through this tactical thread from Ryan, which sets out why Dumfries is very, very interesting prospect for us. Look, Dumfries' link has been going around in this transfer window for quite a while now, so this isn't a new thing, and it's completely understandable why we want a wing back. I think it's safe to say that Thomas Tuchel is not convinced with Callum Hudson-Odoi or Ruben Loftus-Cheek as backup options in the right wing back. As much as I enjoyed watching Ruben Loftus-Cheek in that right wing back spot, I really thought Ruben Loftus-Cheek, his career is done at Chelsea Football Club, because in midfield there's too many options. He just doesn't cut it. In the right wing back, from what he showed the other day against Udinese, I thought, you know what, he could be a potential option as a backup, genuine backup to Reece James, but maybe Thomas Tuchel doesn't fancy, a makeshift sort of player. He wants genuine players in there, in the likes of Dumfries. My thing with Dumfries is, one, the price, it's touted to be around 40 million euros. That's what's getting floated around in social media. Look, that's probably what you're going to pay for a player like Dumfries, who's a Dutch international starter for Inter Milan. My thing is, he starts for Inter Milan. He's got Champions League football with Inter Milan. Inter Milan looks like a solid team again this season. Not that they weren't solid, but with now Lukaku, Lautaro and all that, they're going to really push for this area. They're going to go try and push hard in the Champions League as well. Why is he going to come to Chelsea Football Club to be a backup option? Now, some of you may think he may not be a backup because Reece James is not going to play every single game. So he could possibly get good amount of games. And then there's options that Reece James could play possibly as an RCB. Now, if you're thinking Reece James can play as an RCB, then what happens to Wesley Fofana? What happens to Chalobah? And then what happens to Levi Colwell as well? Not that Levi Colwell will play as a RCB, but if Reece James also becomes an option in the centre back, then you're going to push out Levi Colwell as well. Now, I don't know if I really want to do that. I think Levi Colwell definitely can have still an option on the left side. So there's that option. But yeah, I mean, from Dumfries' point of view, why would he want to come here and be second fiddle to Reece James if we all think Reece James should start as the right wing back? That's my only concern. Everything else, I think we should be able to do that. Inter Milan doing business with Inter Milan, it's probably not going to be easy. They're going to try and fork out as much as money as they can. My only thing is, you've guys got Lukaku who wants to stay with you guys, so let's try and negotiate something decent. Now, let's have a look at this tactical analysis from Ryan, which is very, very well put about why Dumfries, I suppose, for Chelsea Football Club. Tactically, Dumfries meets the exact profile TT prefers at wingback, fullback, someone who can go 1v1 with power, pace. And this is the thing. One thing about Dumfries is he should be able to fit in the Premier League like a glove, because power and pace is what Dumfries is very well known for, and that's something you need in the Premier League. In advanced wide winger positions, having that profile at wingback engages the opposition's fullback and allows a player like Mount at right wing to drop into the pockets with more freedom. This is the scenario. Mount right wing, basically we're trying to say is inside forward. So you've got Dumfries over here, taking the attention of the opposition fullback, which then allows for Mason Mount to circulate around these areas and really open him up to several options. As you can see, different options everywhere. Ryan further on goes to say, just want to add, I've watched him quite a lot, Inter, as I write on them often, and his link-up play with Skriniar, Barella, and their RS is top-notch, together with his ability to take on player, run in behind into dangerous shooting, assisting positions. Ryan does watch Inter Milan quite a lot, so definitely would take his word seriously. Furthermore, his defensive skills and end product is not a problem at all for me. I think people just see others comment and run with it without actually watching the player. I think he's a proper player. Look, when we previously talked about Dumfries, I've got no issues with Dumfries. His stats look very good in terms of assists and goals as well. Not that far away from Reece James. Um, and with pace, power, physicality, defensively, he's strong as well. Playing that wing back role, he can go up and down, which is exactly what is needed. And he's that robust, player that you want to have to compete with Reece James. I think I'll keep Reece James on the toe as well. So, got no issues with this particular player, but it's just thinking, is he willing to come at times where predominantly Reece James could play as one wing back? Whereas now he's a regular at Inter Milan. That's the only thing. Unless he thinks he's got better opportunity to win titles at Chelsea, Premier League, Champions League, so on and so forth. I think he's probably got a lot more chances as opposed to winning titles at Inter Milan in terms of Serie A, because the Premier League is very difficult. But guys, you let me know how you feel about both Dumfries and Wesley Fofana. Are they possible? Does it make sense? For me, they both in profile wise make sense, but are they possible? I don't think they're as straightforward as the euphoria that's happening in social media. Now, let's talk about some outgoings. This is where it gets very, very interesting. Before we do the outgoings, there is one more other thing that we got. Here we go, by the way, for Slonina, which is a backup keeper. You best believe Kepa Arrizabalaga is now gone. The thing with Slonina is he's going to be handed off to a loan in MLS again. This is probably a long-term sort of scenario for Chelsea Football Club. Maybe one day Slonina could play as a Chelsea goalkeeper down the track. But for the time being, we've signed him. Slonina to Chelsea is here we go. 12 million add-ons included. This tweeted by Fabrizio Romano. But he's going to be sent out to loan to MLS again. He's been doing really well in MLS, and would like to see him continue with that. And as I said, he's one for the future. But we do need to look for a backup goalkeeper now, knowing that Kepa Arrizabalaga is probably on his way out. Now, here's some of the outgoings that we want to go through. Fulham have made an offer for Malang Sarr. This is from Sky Sports, and further goes on to say Fulham have 4 offers on the table for CBs, and Chelsea's Sarr is one of them, reports. Let's get rid of Malang Sarr. This is a good news for, I suppose, Lewa Colwell. If we can get rid of Malang Sarr, I think Lewa Colwell will stick around. So I honestly don't see a future for Malang Sarr at Chelsea Football Club, even though in pre-season he hasn't been that. The last game, though, the Udinese game, he wasn't that good. But prior to that couple of games, he wasn't that bad. The Udinese one, he was very good, very, very bad. Look, yeah, we all know this guy's future is not at Chelsea Football Club. Here's another outgoing we're talking about. Everton are in talks for a permanent deal for Michy Batshuayi. Chelsea will sell if price is right. Look, I'm scared. We've got Everton first up. If we do this particular deal before then and he features against us and he scores against us, oh my days, the mud on our face we're going to have. But he's another player. No future with Chelsea Football Club. You need to move on. We've seen you for far too long. You just don't cut it. You just don't cut it. And Frank Lampard needs attacking players. They haven't been able to replace Richarlison. So this makes sense. Chelsea Football Club, don't screw this up. Let's make this happen and let's try and negotiate. Let's not try and play hardball with Everton, and let's try and compromise and get to a scenario and make that transaction happen. It is believed an agreement is expected to be reached for Kepa to join Napoli on loan in the coming days. Look, this one, as we reported recently as well, getting closer and closer with Napoli. I thought Lazio would go for them, knowing that Sarri is there, but maybe Napoli, I think they've got, David Ospina over there. Maybe he's coming to the end of his career. Yeah. We're apparently going to pay 3/4 of his salary. So, look, he's too good to be a number 2. I know a lot of you guys have been saying, Miz, this could be a bit of an issue. Mendy is showing signs of some faultiness in his skill set. Maybe it's worth keeping Kepa, but Kepa ain't going to be second fiddle, man. He just won't be. We just need to find someone who can still compete with Mendy, but he's okay to be a second fiddle. Kepa he needs regular football. He needs to be the number 1 goalkeeper, and right now it's probably worthwhile to move him on. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know how you feel about all the outgoings that we've talked about, but most importantly, really want to hear from you from all the complications around Wesley Fofana and Denzel Dumfries. Let me know how you feel. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. Smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. I shall see you guys for a live tomorrow early, around maybe 10 a.m. UK, maybe just earlier than 10 a.m. we'll have conversations about all of these once again. Until next time. See ya.